Let's turn to New Brunswick's Premier to learn more about how the provinces are considering responding to President Donald Trump. New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt joins me now live. Premier, always good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy day and it's all behind schedule, so we appreciate it.
It is a busy day, but it's important to talk to you and to Canadians about what's going on.
So let's tell Canadians what's going on. I mean, how much alignment is there at the Premier's table on how to respond and how hard to respond? Because you've seen Premier Ford, he wants to go nuclear, right? And not every premier wants to go that far. Where is the consensus right now?
I mean, you can relate to that energy, right? A lot of us were like, we're back here again.
I know.
You know, we lived through the Groundhog Day of Trump threatening tariffs and then not delivering and then threatening tariffs and then things changing. And where that ended up was Canada still having probably the best trade relationship and trade deal in the world, but still with some painful tariffs on particular sections of our economy that we want to see lifted. And so the fact that we're back here with another threat from the president means that we're having the conversation again about what's the right move now. And thankfully we have a Prime Minister that's interested in hearing from the premiers about what we think the right moves are, what we see as the tools at our disposal, and what we see on the ground with our relationships with the U.S. so that collectively we can come up with a strategy that's going to best serve Canadians and that this team of premiers will execute together.
So that point on still having some of the best market access to the United States in the world is true. It's worse than it was, but it is still better than most. But they seem to be noticing that and saying maybe not any longer because they feel they're not getting what they want on the U.S. side of this, and hence a suite of tariffs that really hit B.C., Ontario, and Quebec acutely. And I know that a lot of those same industries are in New Brunswick, right, as what I think the most trade-exposed economy in the country. So what does that tell you about their impatience? Because this is a countdown clock hanging over the First Minister's head now.
Well, what we see is that U.S. alcohol on Canadian shelves is an irritant, that the president has midterms coming up, and that he's probably looking for a win with Americans who have been hurt by these tariffs. The cost of living has gone up in the U.S. because of these tariffs. I think Americans are losing patience with their president and this same kind of Groundhog Day experience that they've had. And they're seeing that Canadians have gone out in the last year and built allies and new trade relationships and strengthened our position. You mentioned critical minerals. New Brunswick's home to 21 of the 34 critical minerals in the country, and we have mining projects that are moving. We just saw an announcement of $44 million of investment up in Bathurst in the Caribou mine. That's really good news for New Brunswickers, and we know that the U.S. is interested in those minerals. So you can't come to us and say, we want your minerals, but we want to stick a needle in you over here. If we're going to have a true open and fair trading relationship, then let's get a deal done, a deal that we can honor, and continue to move forward as the long-standing trade partners that we have been.
But, you know, with the reticence in some circles to use potash as leverage, to use oil as leverage, and presumably even critical minerals, there might be a reluctance to use that as leverage necessarily, offering them more as incentives, but I don't know if that's how the U.S. thinks. I mean, if you can't use these points of leverage as aggressive tools, how do you get through this? How do you put the pressure on them if there is no agreement in 28 days?
Well, we know what assets we have, and we know what assets they want from us. And we've now seen, because Trump has shown his hand, what's irritating him. So you use that. You use that in discussions. They see that who we're partnering with. They see where the investment's coming into Canada and larger dollar than it's been in a very long time. We see that in New Brunswick because we have energy projects that we want to move and an interest investing in New Brunswick as an energy hub. We sit in the middle of the Maritimes, connected to Nova Scotia, PEI, Quebec, and the U.S., with nuclear power and leadership in that space, with hydroelectric power, with the largest biomass conversion that North America has seen. And they see that we're attracting investment into our energy infrastructure at a time when Americans really value energy security, and that's why they put it on their exemption list. So we use these things as leverage at the table to get them to negotiate a fair deal for Canadians.
But if they know Canada, for good economic reasons, for the places that rely on potash and oil and other things, are not going to withhold those things from the United States, how is it leverage at the table? Because as they know, it would devastate Saskatchewan. It would devastate Alberta. And certainly with the national unity issues at play, it would have other knock-on effects. I mean, they know we're not going to do that, right?
Do they? Because these are conversations we're having. There's a lot of people interested in Canada's energy project.
Absolutely not. So it's tough to do it if the premiers of those jurisdictions, for example, don't want to, right?
Yeah, but there's other things that we have that we can partner on, and there's certainly a sense from premiers that we're going to support each other, and whatever we do needs to be unified, because we don't want them picking apart and slicing up provinces to do a deal. We've all agreed that we need a comprehensive deal, not a sector-by-sector deal, so that we have the free and fair trade that we want with the U.S., and we also have a lot of faith in the team, in Prime Minister Carney and Minister LeBlanc, that they're going to keep us in the loop and that we're going to engage over the next 29 days and the days that come after that in Canada's best interest, and that if there's something that we all need to do together in order to get Canadians the best deal, then those conversations are on the table.
Well, what is your sense of whether or not the Americans want a fully comprehensive deal? Like, American business may and American states may, but the American administration I'm talking about here, because they are pulling out a single piece of the economy one at a time, exerting leverage against it, and then trying to force concessions from Canada, like with the bridge, like with anything. I mean, I know Canada wants that, but I don't know. Does the U.S. administration want that?
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. has been acting in a very reactive way, and clearly that we struck a chord with booze that led them to react in a way that maybe wasn't in their strategic best interests. And so if they want to try to keep picking things apart, we've been steadfast in our desire for something comprehensive, and we're going to continue to work through that because it's in our best interest. And if they want to show their hand by picking the irritants and telling us what those are, then we will use that information to our advantage.
So there's 28 days and ticking down, on these new tariffs, and I know the Prime Minister said they've agreed to intensify negotiations, and some premiers have said, well, this could be the window where we get a deal. This could be the end game. Jameson Greer said some things today, though, that suggest maybe it could be just kind of a dead end, because he says this is going to go into 2027, and his goal is to have an option to put on the president's desk around the end of the year, potentially. How do you interpret that in terms of the urgency of this moment here to get something and what the trade representative is saying?
Yeah, it aligns with Canada because we would like a deal urgently, but the urgency is not greater than the quality of the deal. We're not going to go fast to get something poor. We have the ability and the strength in our economy and the strength in our global partners to wait for the right deal. So we think that this is a window that the U.S. is irritated about, and this might be a chance for us to get the negotiations going. But if they don't put something attractive on the table, then we don't have to sign because, as you said, we've got the best deal in the world right now. And look, the end of 2026, that's only a few months away. The beginning of 2027.
That could be 6 months of 50% tariffs on certain areas, right? That's the challenge.
There's a big if there. We've seen Donald Trump
threaten
tariffs and then not deliver on them, and then threaten them and not deliver. So we use the best information that we have. And I take heart in the fact that Canada is a resource-rich country. It is a human resource-rich country. We have smart, resilient, gritty entrepreneurs here, and a team of Canada's premiers and a prime minister that's going to support workers, that's going to support entrepreneurs, and we are going to go out there and find the new markets. It's already happening to make sure that our resources and our innovations are getting into the hands of our allies. And if the U.S. doesn't want to be a part of that, then I think they'll find themselves worse off for it.
So what specifically are you hoping to hear from the Prime Minister tomorrow? Because I know the conversation yesterday was kind of an overview of things and a discussion of options, but like nothing kind of final, right? A lay of the land, state of play thing. Some premiers, Premier Ford and others, said they want to see a little bit more of a framework of a plan maybe tomorrow. So what about you? Where do you stand as Premier of New Brunswick on that one?
That's exactly it. We're going to get into the next level of the conversation. I mean, we had a rapid meeting yesterday that was thrown together at the last minute in response to the tariff threat. We got the information that we all needed in the first pass, but now we can build a more concerted strategy, right? What do the next 29, 28, 27 days look like? We all engage with different leaders in the U.S., different states and Congress people, different business leaders. Is there a particular push that we want to put on over these next 30 days together and develop further the strategy that we'll collectively execute as Team Canada?
At the end of the formal 30-day period, if there isn't an agreement, because I know the Prime Minister said you need to prepare for that, right? And we need to look at options, look at leverage, and think about what we're prepared to do, and that could be more retaliatory tariffs. And that comes with its own economic self-harm, when countries do that. How How able and how prepared do you think Canada is to have an aggressive response if this win? I'm not trying to be negative, but if it fails and if we end up with tariffs, because this is an unpredictable bunch of actors.
I think we have a lot of tools, and I was reassured yesterday, you know, when we positioned it with the Prime Minister, gave examples of the kind of small business in New Brunswick that would be impacted by these specific tariffs and what that impact would mean to them. You know, he referenced that, look, we have a fund, we have $1 billion there ready to support companies that are impacted by tariffs, and so the supports are there that we could use to weather some of the storm. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is what I live as a premier. We need to have a growing economy. I need to make sure I have the energy infrastructure that can support a growing economy, because the growing economy is what allows me to invest in healthcare for New Brunswickers. And that's something that we have been making massive investments in. We're going to be talking to the Prime Minister tomorrow about the federal government's portion of those healthcare investments. Yeah. But we need...
That's going to get real space on the agenda, the healthcare stuff?
It is absolutely a significant item on the agenda, and you may have heard from the premiers today that we're all very interested.
No, I definitely heard that, but I know the Prime Minister wanted to come here to talk about the economic agenda and the big projects agenda. Are you going to get it on, do you think?
They go hand in hand. We can't build big projects and a healthy economy without healthy people and a vibrant population that can deliver on those major projects, that can do the nuclear projects in New Brunswick, or the hydro projects, or the mineral projects that we're advancing as the energy hub of the Maritimes. We need that economic growth in order to support the cost of healthcare today. So
okay.
I think we'll be talking about both of those things.
All right. New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt, always appreciate it. Thank you so much.